This is going to be equally exciting because I get to meet some real youngsters. This is about the rise of the teen-trepreneurs. So I'm going to welcome some to the stage now. I believe they are all getting mic'd up and ready. So really what we've got here is the opportunity to talk to three really young people who have achieved fantastic things, to talk about their ideas, how their businesses grew, where they think they're going, and where they think the challenges are, and their vision in the future of retail. So they're going to each present for around about 7 minutes, and then we're going to have a chat. So I've got loads of questions for them. I'm sure you will too. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the following people to the stage in just a moment. So please put your hands together and welcome Rose Dyson, who is Managing Director of Pura Cosmetics, Harry Beard, who is co-founder of Future Labs, and Cenk Oz, who is CEO of iCoolKid. Please give them a warm welcome. Okay, so let's hear from Rose, Managing Director of Pura.
Hello everyone, my name's Rose Dyson. I'm 18 years old and I'm from Yorkshire, up north. I started my own business called Pura Cosmetics when I was 15 years old and still at school. I was in year 10, basically doing my GCSEs, and there was an enterprise competition that came up. And I was a bit geeky at school. I like to get involved with everything, so I decided to give it a try. Had no idea that a career in business would be for me. I kind of wanted to, well, in reception class, I wanted to be the tooth fairy. Didn't really work out, but now I wanted to be a teacher all through school. It changed a lot, but I never thought business would be the way I would go. I was quite shy. My mum said I would never talk to many people when I was younger, but now here I am. So I thought about my idea. And I knew that it would be something in beauty, really, which is quite obviously a busy market, very dynamic. And I also thought, when I was going in my local shopping centre at the weekends, I thought that the prices of ethical cosmetics were really quite extortionate and my pocket money just couldn't cover it. So I decided to make my own. Lots of people take selfies, so I thought, and everyone pouts in the selfies sometimes, so I thought, we'll go with lips. So I basically create and I manufacture and retail my own range of ethical, so they're natural, cruelty-free and vegan, lip care cosmetics, so basically just have two products, a lip screw and lip balm, lots of different flavours, but they're all a purse-friendly price point that girls and boys that were my age at the time, 15, can afford. So basically trying to instill that kind of brand loyalty and basically instill it at a young age and make it go lifelong. So that's what their aim is to do. So I'm going to show you now, this is my first ever attempt at a product I ever made. I basically started making them in my kitchen. With the competition that I did at school, the basis of it was you start with £25, and that's all I've ever put in my business so far. I've never invested any more money than that. And now it's my full-time job. So this was me. Lemon lip balm didn't really last very long. They were really interesting flavours, a lot of trial and error, and then I created my own recipe. And this is what they look like now. So as you can see, a lot better. Different logo. We do lots of different flavours like mango, coconut, raspberry bubble gum, all sorts. We do cocktail flavours and a cocktail-inspired line, all sorts really. So obviously, tech is a big influence on my business. We have an online site, website, so people buy online. I've been running this business through my A-levels, so it has been quite busy, and I've just gone full-time, so now I can really get stuck in it. And obviously, tech, there's lots of opportunities with tech, apps, all sorts is like that. But I have stockists as well, so I've used social media basically to the max. I've not spent probably, I think I've spent less than £300 on advertising so far, so in 3 years of running a business, so I've literally done it at very little cost. It's grown through word of mouth, social media, micro-influencers, my friends that have got, say, 10,000 followers on Instagram, they've just put it on and we get a lot of interest from people just like my friends, and then we've had like Love Island girls put them on Instagram, and that has really helped us build the business. And then stockists in my local area, basically up north at the moment, they get in touch and say, can we stock the products? So that's something that's happened as well. So as you can see, we've got them in quite a few independents. This is like the setup in the shop. So it's been really, really good being able to work with stockists who have found me basically from social media. And this is the website. I built it myself. I edit it on my phone. It's brilliant. It's quite a simple website, but I have a section about my story because a lot of people do love the story. And I get orders from there all around the country daily. Internationally, we don't ship internationally just yet, apart from to the Republic of Ireland, but that's obviously an opportunity as well. And this is just this is a girl from Love Island. She put it on her Instagram, and it went absolutely crazy. The website crashed. So I think definitely on the beauty sort of market, the power of social media influencers is incredible. It has really, really helped the business. And they love these people as well, so it's lovely when you can have a girl who's really, really powerful in terms of platform, but also really nice to work with. She just put it on her Instagram story, and it just went like that. So it really does work, and it has worked really well for me. But for the future, so obviously we're selling online at the minute, and we have the stockists. Obviously, most of my sales do come, so it's sort of 60-40 from the website at the minute. So 40% from the website, 60% from the stockists. And my dream is to have it in a retailer. I think I would love to have it in Boots, Superdrug one day. So we are rebranding in February. To this new branding, and this is more aimed towards retail, so I think it's just got that little bit more edgy look feel. I really, really like it, and it's going to hopefully help us break into the retail more, but from that I know that I'll have to use lots of social media influencers and to get the profile really up. But that's where I'm heading, so if you've got any questions, do let me know afterwards. And if you want to keep up to date with us, you can follow me at @PureCosRose and at Pure Cosmetics. And then we've got the website and email address on there as well. So that's all me done.
Rose, thank you very much indeed. Come and join us here. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. Harry, would you like to go next?
Thank you. Super. So thank you very much for having me today. I'm going to give you a quick, brief introduction as to who I am. So my name's Harry Beard. I'm 19 years old, and I come from a small town called Bedford, which, if any of you know, is about an hour away from here. And my family have lived in and around this town for 500 years uninterrupted. So for me to do anything disruptive with my life when I was born was probably not expected. I think I was expected to sort of go and tend to the land or whatever it might be, either in agriculture or in property. So for me to sort of be stood here in front of you guys at a tech conference in London, it's a massive, massive thing for me, so thank you very much for having me. My journey all started when I was about 14 years old, and effectively, I'd come to a long summer. I'd just started my new school, and I made some new friends, and so we were all hanging out together in the summer. And I realized that life is slightly more expensive than the naive 13-year-old me realized. And I was going out doing things, whether it be going to get fish and chips, or going to go and play some golf, or tennis racket hire, and every single day I was finding myself, Mum, can I have a tenner, can I have 20 quid, whatever it might be. And after a while I realized, hang on, Mum after a while is probably going to stop this sort of money supply chain, or, I'm just going to keep pestering her, and I don't really want to do that. So I thought, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll make my own t-shirts, let's try and make some money for myself. So I went online, bought some white t-shirts and spray painted on them, which not only saved me money because I wasn't having to go and play tennis or whatever it was, but also was making me a bit of money. I was selling these t-shirts to friends in my local area. And I'd come to my last few t-shirts, and I'd basically milked all of my friends for all the money I could possibly milk them for. And I started to think, right, okay, let's try and take this forward. I made a bit of money. Let's try and do something a bit more serious with it. So I sent the t-shirts to influencers, and they were quickly responding back to me saying, this is rubbish. They could tell that effectively I'd spray painted on a t-shirt while sat on a trampoline. It wasn't exactly the most high-tech product going. So I rebranded, restarted again, started a new clothing brand. And this time I sort of tried to build some hype before I released anything. And on release day, we sold out of the whole collection, 12,000 site visits within the first hour, which for a brand that had no reputation, zero marketing budget, anything like that, I thought was pretty cool. And it was evidently quite cool when my fairly humble parents were surprised to see me going to the post office the next day, sending stuff to Finland, Rwanda, America, Australia, pretty much every continent going, except from Antarctica, obviously. And so, yeah, this started to build, and I was building more and more of a social following, sending more and more products overseas, and I got a quick DM after the local paper ran an article on me because I'd reached a 5 million audience for a marketing budget of £24. So the local paper ran an article, and some local businesses got in touch and just basically said, you know, you're a kid who's got a company that's got no reputation, you've got no headquarters, you don't have a stockist. What on earth gives you any right to have more followers than we've got? You know, we've got an established reputation. So they called me in to go and do their social media for them. Before you knew it, I was sort of doing a couple of small shops in my town. And then my first big break came where I did the social media marketing for a celebrity basketball tournament where we sold out the O2 Arena. And that was effectively the first thing I'd ever done, which was a bit more real life, if that made sense, because I turned up to the O2 on that day to see thousands of people who'd all been seeing my content. And again, this sort of snowballed from sort of referrals and things. And so today I stand before you as the co-founder of Future Labs, which is a Gen Z consultancy which works with some of the biggest brands in Europe and across the world on altering their image slightly and also running marketing campaigns for them to target Generation Z in the most effective way. As I'm sure many of you are quite well aware, our town centres are changing rapidly, and many people are putting this down to the interaction with Generation Z. We've just seen, for example, House of Fraser being taken over, and they've put a big part of their, I guess, demise, you could call it, down to them not being able to connect with Generation Z efficiently. So my company works with big businesses, everything from major scale banks to two of the finest educational establishments in the world, and we're working with these companies to make sure that they can interact with Gen Z in the best way possible. So thank you very much for having me. I look forward to your questions later on.
Harry, thank you very much indeed.
What's the clicker like?
Yeah, simple, mate.
Okay.
Thanks,
No.
Tink.
Quickly. Hi, I'm Cenk Oz. I'm 13, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called iCoolKid.com. iCoolKid is four main things. Firstly, a publishing company in the form of digital in our website and print in the form of a book coming out soon. Secondly, media. We have 6 social media platforms in which we curate daily content, and 2 music media platforms, which are Spotify and SoundCloud. We're often consulted on advice for Generation Z trends and their purchasing habits, and then finally production in the form of our YouTube channel and then an upcoming TV show. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the why, how, and what of iCoolKid. So firstly, why? Why did I start iCoolKid? Firstly, tech. Tech was becoming 3 things. Firstly, it was becoming cheaper. Secondly, it was more readily available. And thirdly, it was easier to use. Those 3 things meant that it was getting into the hands of much younger kids, aka Generation Z, like me. With that tech, then came ads on every form of tech. Then kids were watching these ads, whether it be a full 30 seconds or even 5 seconds of an ad, and then they were taking in information, whether they wanted it or not. And I got this great story that I was seeing my cousin, and she's, 7? She's 6 at the time, but she's 7 now. And she went up to me, and it was her birthday, and I said, "Happy birthday." And she didn't even respond. She just said, "Have you been involved in an accident that wasn't your fault?" And then managed to perfectly recite the injury lawyers for you number, which I thought was slightly worrying. And then upon further questioning, I realized that it was only because that she had seen that ad so many times that, I really hope she doesn't need to know it, but it had subconsciously become integrated in her mind. So that's ads. Then social media. Social media meant that Generation Z now had a voice, and that voice wasn't only amplified, it was amplified to an extent of so many people that, some people have, millions of followers that Generation Z can now tap into. And that meant that Generation Z voice was, as I said, amplified. All of that together meant that there was a new cool. However, the new cool beforehand used to be, 18 to 25-year-olds, or the MTV generation. It's now shifted all the way back down to what I like to call Generation Z, or 8 to 18. That's the new cool. I call that the seismic shift in generational influence, or SSGI. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later, but Generation Z have an incredible spending power. It's something along the lines of $5 trillion per year. And we realize that with all that information they're getting from ads, with their new opinionative selves, which they're coming out through social media, They needed a one-stop place to get all of their information, and that was iCoolKid. That's the why done. Now, how and what? 2 simple sentences. How? We curate and disseminate timely, engaging, innovative, and inspiring content across multiple media platforms. Finally, what? It's a one-stop, safe, global, on-brand producer and publisher of all things cool aimed at young people. Nowadays, it's the largest of its kind, with over 5,000 plus original articles. We have visitors from some incredible countries. I mean, you'd expect to see places like the US, Australia, India, Indonesia, UK, big countries. But now on the top 5, I mean, Somalia getting there, top 6, Nepal, Burma, Fiji, Bangladesh, Senegal, and Uruguay are all in the top 10, which I think is pretty incredible, and it proves that the internet really does have no boundaries. People-wise, we have 5 full-time employees working, and during the summers we have interns who are aging from 18 to about 24, and then mini interns who are from 13 to 18. Social media-wise, we've just hit over 140,000 across all of our social media platforms. And how do we make revenue? Well, firstly, ads on the website and YouTube, affiliate programs with major companies such as Nike, Adidas, Converse, Amazon. Consulting, I'm often consulted, as I said beforehand. Appearances, such as like TED Talks. Commercial work, pretty self-explanatory. A clothing line coming out soon, and then a book, as I mentioned. This actually is iCoolKid. So you can see you got the main features like the navigation bar up at the top there. And that consists of the hype, which is just every story ever. You got the Coolcast, which is where we have all of our videos. We have the Cool Cow, which on any given day will give you the coolest things to do around the UK. Then you have our 6 color-coded channels. And then you can see you got the hype, Music Mania, and then the Extreme Vids, which is one of our channels. Here are some of my favorite stories. So we got the Bear Hunt Bear Bricks, limited editions. I know where you guys all are. I know where I was today at 11 o'clock. I was at the Supreme Drop. Pool Ice doesn't really like buildings the way they are, so then this happened. Everyone likes coffee. Everyone likes fashion. Why not mix the 2? And then finally, some pretty legendary figures, but in sushi. So more about Generation Z now. Generation Z make up 27% of the current population. By 2020, there's going to be 2.2 billion Generation Zers globally, making already us the biggest generation yet. The average weekly pocket money in the developed world is $18 per week. We assume that there's 1.5 billion people in the developed world getting that. That gives us a hard spending power of about $350 billion per year. Now you apply an influence or soft spending multiplier of about 14. If you don't know what that is, that's basically I get pocket money, but then if someone buys me a gift, that money also counts. So that's a multiplier of about 14. That means that Generation Z have a spending influence which is close to £5 trillion or dollars per year, which makes us the most financially influential generation ever. So retail. How are you going to attract Generation Z? Their influence, but most importantly, their spending power. Thank you very much for listening. I'll leave it on there.
Thank you very much, Cenk. If you want to come and join us. Marvellous. Well, haven't you all achieved a lot? It's wonderful to have the opportunity to have a chat, and thank you for sharing your story. So what's interesting, it's all very different where it came about. Cenk, can I just ask you, because I was reading an article about actually how it all started for you all the years ago when you were about 8, was it?
Right.
And just tell us a little bit about, because wasn't it about the fact that, you know, kids at the time at your school were, you know, they'd go home at the weekends and they'd be on their iPads, etc. But actually you were the one doing something a little bit different. And is that how it started?
So what was happening was that I'd always go to school on a Monday morning, and the teacher would always ask a generic question of, so what did everyone do this weekend? And everyone else would always be, oh, I went to this rugby match, or oh, I went to this football match. But I would always be, oh, I went to this musical, or I went to this dance convention, or I had this DJing lesson. It would always just be a bit out of the norm. And then my friends would start asking me, so Cenk, what are you doing this weekend? Because I want to come with you, because it's probably more fun than what I'm doing. So then their mum started asking my mum via email, and then my mum started emailing them saying, your kids want to come with Cenk, here's what he's doing, here's what to do. And then we realized that that's a really good idea for a company that doesn't yet exist. So then we realized that we can make it a company. So then 3 months later, I did a show and tell of iCoolKid, and I got this great picture of me, 8 years old me with iCoolKid on a little poster board. And then, I mean, I look at it now and it really hasn't changed that much. I mean, the logo's changed a bit, but that's about it. And then within 3 years, we'd interviewed lots of website companies. We stuck with our third one, I believe. And then must have been May of 2016, March 2016, we officially launched. So that was when I was 11, which is scary.
Okay, yeah, because I think you do hold the title, don't you, as the youngest
Yeah.
CEO? Yes, you do. Okay, all right, wonderful. Let's bring you guys in as well then. So Rose, it came about through a passion of yours and it spotted a gap in the market. Where do you see things developing? And I suppose it's really, looking to your audience of the future, where do you want to be, say, in a couple of years' time? So you've done that, you're looking at the rebrand we saw.
Yeah, the rebrand is like our main thing, because I think the generation, I think it just appeals much more to the younger generation.
Yeah.
And it is sort of the thing you could see, sort of in Boots, but also in Urban Outfitters, and that kind of vibe at that price point that all of the Gen Z shoppers shop in, basically. I think with the future, there's all sorts. It's so out there. There's so much you can do. I think mainly for me is when the rebrand happens, we're going to have a completely brand new interactive website, and with so many cool features, and just do lots of work with influencers and celebrities and that kind of thing, and then onwards to an e-commerce app that people can buy from, and it's all linked in there. You can just click on what they want to buy and then straight away it's all linked in for them, so there's less time spent logging in, putting it in the bag and stuff like that. And just having that close connection to customers that technology brings about, I think that's what I'm going to try and maximise.
Wonderful. Okay, Rose, thank you. Harry, can I just bring you in then? Because, what you're a great example of is helping retailers to understand their audience and the knowledge that you have, and we've talked a lot about Gen Z over the past day or so, is absolutely phenomenal, isn't it? So for you, what do you think, we all have to do to take on board the knowledge you have to engage with Generation Z in the months ahead to survive?
Yeah, if I feel like brands, the one thing they're missing is if you want to get involved with Generation Z, you can go online and try and learn it, but Generation Z is moving so quickly. Get someone from Generation Z on board. It's sort of why we came about, I guess. It's a completely Gen Z consultancy. I mean, there's lots of things which I feel most companies are getting wrong, to be honest with you. Which we could go in great depth on.
Yeah, absolutely. So give me some examples.
One example for me is authenticity. I think a lot of brands have this idea that when they're on social media, you have to be this commercial face. So if you are Deloitte or any company like that, you've got to be very professional. You're tweeting as if you are a man with a tie on or something behind a desk, and everything you do, this comma's got to be here. And a GIF, no, I'm not using one of those. I'm Deloitte. I don't go near GIFs.
Yes.
And we want to encourage brands to just be more authentic, be human. Because for Generation Z to really engage with you, you've got to do something which sort of commends yourself, if that makes sense, them worth coming to you, whether that be either be funny or be interesting, be inspiring, or even if it's doing something as silly as putting really nice aesthetic photos up, which people enjoy. Give content which people want to be watching, want to be sort of engaging with. And I feel like that's one of the major things most brands are missing out on, because
So I suppose it's adapting in a fast-changing world, and it's changing the tone of voice to attract that new audience.
Precisely, and I think there are some companies which have done it really well, mainly all American, if I'm completely honest with you. And I think they're just willing to get rid of the barriers, and they're sitting there. A lot of companies are sitting with their marketing degrees on sort of their shoulders, I guess, and saying the rules say I can't do that, so I won't. Whereas, the rules don't allow Wendy to be sending tweets to Burger King saying, we hate your burgers, your chips are pretty awful too. But they're doing it, and it gets them thousands upon thousands upon thousands of retweets. And for me, Wendy's I've never ever been to a Wendy's, not once in my life, but it's the first restaurant that comes to my mind when I think fast food retail USA, because I just see their tweets all the time.
Yes,
And
so it's their presence.
And yeah, I think it's one of those things, again, with social media. A lot of companies misunderstand the need for social media. They think that by putting out a tweet, we should be seeing X number of sales from that tweet, when really it's about building that brand image and about building the reputation. So, for example, I'm not Wendy's their desired sort of customer, but when I go to America, because of the times I've seen their tweets, I'm going to go there. I can't wait to try all the chat they've given about their chips. I can't wait to try them. But So I feel like you've got to use social media as more of a long-term vehicle. Don't look at it as sort of short-term, let's gain sales tomorrow. And I think particularly startups, that's something which maybe startups, in my opinion, sometimes don't quite get right.
Yeah, okay, all right, that's really interesting. Cenk, let me bring you in then just to ask you, you started off posting content. Where do you go to get your content now to decide, okay, yeah, that's inspiring, that's going to engage my audience?
I mean, there are so many places. We have a really quite complex system of Google notifications. So it works with Gmail, and what we do is each member of the team has their own iCoolKid Gmail, and they will all set up with their given channel. So say employee X is working on channel X, they will, when we first started, we spent quite a long time getting all of the keywords, key hashtags, key things that will come up for, say, pop culture, style and sneaks, something like that. And then that has honestly worked so well, because we'd much rather get so many that we don't need than have one or two things that we really do want and generations that are focused on that we miss. So we try and, I use this term loosely, we kind of go overboard on how many notifications we get to then rein it back in. But then not only that, you have places like Hype, what's it called?
Hypebeast, Highest Variety?
Highest Variety is the one I was thinking of. Highest Variety, Hypebeast, places like that are just really good and have good quality content.
Okay, all right, Cenk, thank you. We're going to go over to Slido in a minute, so do have some questions up your sleeves. Future of retail, we know, is changing so fast, and we've talked about online, we've talked about struggling, bricks and mortar. What do you think, what advice can you give to us all, really, in your young years for retail about the future? Big question, Rose.
Big question. I think definitely just get, like Harry said, just get on board with social media, get the people in that know their stuff, in that living generation, that they're there. And even if they don't, if you think, oh, I'm not sure, they're just a young person, surely they know it inside out, so get them on board and just take experience from them. Just go up, if you have people in your shopping, they're young, and they said, how have you managed to get to the shop? I bet many of them will say, well, I saw an offer on social media, or that's why I've come today, or there's the thing over the road, the restaurant over the road doing free things for students or something like that, and that's why we've come over. I think just basically, just utilize social media. That's how I built my business, with next to no marketing budget.
I was going to say, that's what comes across. It's been done incredibly cheaply, hasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So I've just done it all myself, single-handedly, basically. And now I only have 6 Saturday girls that go and sell for me, and that's
amazing.
it.
And I think it's a real inspiration to people of your age as well.
Yeah, especially from where I'm from up north, we kind of not many, especially girls, they don't expect anyone to do anything like this. I think it's definitely something you can do, and it proves that you don't need to use masses of capital.
Yeah,
literally
absolutely.
£25.
Yeah.
Made some products, went to my Christmas fair at school, and then just went from
built
that
it from there.
Market stall to a website, and then to the stockists. And
yes, and built the website yourself.
Yeah.
Amazing. Harry, let me bring you in, because you go into businesses and you talk about the future and how to engage with your audience. So give us 3 things that you're saying to the retail industry to help them survive and thrive.
I'll be honest with you, it really varies from person to person, because obviously each company's got their own issues. And without wanting to give a boring story, the funniest one in my opinion was we went to a bank and sat down with the head of marketing, and they were talking us through sort of, why are we not engaging young people compared to Monzo or Revolut? And we were sort of saying, well, your cards don't offer contactless. That's quite a big thing. Really? Don't they? And they didn't have a clue that their junior cards weren't offering contactless. And so I'm sorry I can't give you a straight answer, I guess, because it is based on each company. Obviously, we do say look at sort of marketing as a big thing, whether it be social media, and also, as I've said already, be authentic, be willing to be different. But yeah, I do think that companies just need to diversify their offering if possible, and that's one thing which, for me, as a young person, I go into John Lewis, House of Fraser, shops like that. They all offer exactly the same thing, and I want to go into a shop, as Cenk sort of alluded to already with sort of the Supreme and stuff. Youth culture is moving really quickly, and things like the Nigeria football kit, which was sold out everywhere, those are the things which are grabbing my generation's attention no longer are the Ralph Lauren polo shirts. Not to be rude to Ralph Lauren polo shirts, they're very nice as all, but they're not attracting the attention.
Yeah.
And I think because everywhere has them, and people aren't willing to go, let's go and find the local artist who's making some merchandise. Let's not, they're not willing to go to London. Let's go and find the skateboard shop who are making some cool stuff, because they want to be known as the stockist of insert name, a reputable brand.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, Gen Z are bored with it. They're willing to go online. They're willing to go to these new sort of quirky pop-up shops, or a popular one in London, Dover Street Market. People are willing to go to these shops, and they're willing to spend extra. Kids will spend a load of money on clothes, as I'm sure Jenk and Rose will both back me up. A kid will go and work for a month to earn how many hundreds of pounds, and they will spend all of that on a hoodie, just because that's what they want.
Yes.
And they don't care if you can go and buy one that's got a chap paying polo on it for £100. They'll go and spend £1,000 just to have the word Supreme on the front.
Yeah.
I think companies just need to understand Generation Z and diversify their offering based upon that.
Okay, all right. So that's. But you hit on a key point about the boredom threshold and just how fast things are moving. Because I think yesterday it was discussed that your Gen Z attention span is was it 8 seconds, and 9 seconds is a goldfish.
That's on Instagram. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So the speed of change, and that for some of us could feel rather scary. Of how do you constantly keep innovating and changing and not being afraid to fail when you've had that traditional model. Let's look at some of the questions that have come in. So tips for advice on how to deal with rejection when making deals with clients, and ways to build up resilience. And I imagine that that is something very, very important, isn't it, for the mindset? Jenk, do you want to take that one?
I think that my tip is probably not a very good one, but I mean, I try and do as much acting as I can, and I've gone to however many auditions, and the amount, however 1,000 I've got one.
Yes.
And I mean, like James Corden, incredible actor, hadn't had a single audition, got a single audition till he was 16, and he said that was probably the best thing that could have happened to him, because it taught him rejection.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't have any tips for that first rejection, that initial one of just no, sorry.
Yes.
But then my tip would be, don't, in the most cliche way possible, don't give up, because then the no is A, only going to get you one step closer to a yes, and B, every no is less painful than the one beforehand. And I mean, now I go for auditions, so I'm like, sucks for them. But no, like you kind of just end up taking it on the chin.
Yeah.
And I would definitely, I mean, the first time I didn't get it, I was like gut wrenched. But then I realized that I just wasn't right for it, fair enough. And then as you move on through the process, it kind of just becomes a natural thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good message, and it's one that you've learnt very, very young. I hear you've met Idris Elba and worked with Idris recently.
That was, yes, in the movie 100 Streets. I think it's called 100 Streets. I admittedly didn't have that much big of a role, but no, I worked with him, which was great.
Okay, all right. And how about you guys? What would you say, Rose? Let's ask you the same question.
Yeah, the age thing for me is really kind of, in business, really helped, like push me back a bit. But not that I've ever let it really have that much of an impact. There was one instance where I went into the local town, little soap shop, and I just thought, I'll go in and just introduce myself, talk about the products, see if they may be interested in stocking them. And the lady, I walked in and I introduced myself, I had the products on me, and I had them in a little box, and I basically told her the story about Pura, explained what the products are, and not everyone wants to take them on board, that's fine, but she basically said to me, these was her words, she was like, just on the way you are alone and your age and how young you are, there is no way your products could be high quality enough to be stocked in my shop. So I was like, okay, well, would you like to have a look at them? And she was like, put the box away. I'm not interested at all. So I was like, okay, fair enough, and then just walked out of the shop. And then I sent samples the following week. So she had to open the box, and then I was quite determined, as we all are, and she opened the box, and then I had a really nice email saying, I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have judged you on your age, and they were in the shop next week, and they're now stockist now, 2 years on, so yeah, it's stuff like that. And I've had people, even when I was like 15, on one of my first ever market stalls when I was selling the products, a lady came up to me and she was looking at the products and she was like, you can't possibly be a proper entrepreneur at your age. And I just went, Okay, then, all right. And then I obviously went home and it was like, oh, Mum, this lady said I can't be an entrepreneur today. And she was like, Rose, you can be anything you want.
Absolutely.
So there's stuff like that, but I've never really impacted me at all. It's the whole thing about being a girl and in the male-dominated industry.
Well, also you talked about the culture of where you come from and what's expected,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like a lot of people say, oh, do you have any problems with being a girl? Have you ever faced anything like that? And I'm just like, no, not at all. And that's the point in itself, which is great about for the next generation of young entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. But it's having that self-belief, isn't it? And
Yeah, of
changing that
course. I think if
mindset.
you believe in the product,
Yeah.
your passion will come across and hit your customer right in the face, and they'll just get as passionate as you. That's what I try and do every single time.
Absolutely, because
so.
it would have been easy to have just walked out and thought, well, I'll just
Yeah,
try
of
the next
course.
shop down the high street. But,
15 years old and,
Yeah.
and 16 years old, and they just say, based on your age, I wouldn't even look at them. And then they come back and they say, sorry, I shouldn't have judged you that early on and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. And how about you, Harry?
I was taught to deal with sort of failure, I guess, at quite a young age. I was never the brightest kid at school.
Right.
So most sort of spelling tests and stuff, I'd sort of, been pushed down a couple of notches and stuff like that. And so it's obviously gone through to a upper sixth and everything. And so I've never really looked at failure in a negative way at all, purely because conditioned to it, I guess. But I just think whenever I come to a sort of failure, I just, gosh, I want sort of one of those mind blanks. No, I don't really see it as a setback at all or anything. It's one of those things where you're going to fail at some point. And the one lovely thing is, because you're 18, or 19 in my case now, what's failure ever going to do to you? Because I don't have a mortgage to pay, I don't have kids to feed, no bills. So the worst thing that could possibly happen is, didn't work this time, Harry, go to university or whatever, try again later, when, that time it sort of does matter a bit more. But at the moment, failure for me, even if I fail, I see it as a positive because people commend me for trying.
Yeah.
And the experiences I've had because I've started, I guess, have been amazing. Even if I go and sit in a meeting with a bank and they turn around and say, this is rubbish, and it's a failure, there's not many kids my age who have had the opportunity to sit in front of the managing directors of a bank or something. So I'm just sort of, do you know what? I probably don't deserve to be here anyway, so just sort of walk out.
But what you have is that incredible knowledge of what engages, what people need to do to engage with your generation. So, I can't see that failing. There's a cheeky question. Are you looking for investors? If so, what do you want from them in addition to money? Who's
Yes.
for taking that one?
If anyone in here is an investor, please email me.
Take that one then. Come on, you've nabbed it.
After you.
No.
No.
The answer.
Okay. Fine. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
Rose?
No, not for me personally, not yet. I think we're quite fortunate with our age. We get to do quite a lot of competitions, and there's loads of enterprise stuff at the minute, and there's like angel investments up for grabs. So I've been fortunate to get one of those recently. So I'm not looking for investors, but I think you would want more than just money. You want absolutely just their wealth of experience they could have to bring to you would be amazing. Yeah,
Okay.
but not at the minute
But you're
for
not
me.
interested. Okay, that's not the direction you're going, Harry.
Completely opposite to all of them. I'm pretty open to it. No, I think the big thing with me is because the Gen Z consultancy stuff does rely on contacts at the end of the day, because I can email as many banks as I want, or I can email as many big companies as I want. Getting in that door is not always the easiest thing.
Yes.
So obviously I can go and manage small companies, social medias, that's really easy to do. But it's getting into the doors of the big boys where the serious money comes in. That's sort of something which I'm sure an investor can provide for us. And I do think in terms of finance, obviously it is really nice to obviously have that sort of comfort zone, because if we do, looking forward, want to employ more full-time staff, specifically people who are really good content creators, obviously that's something we're always looking for. And we do want to invest in people as well, which isn't the cheapest thing, whether it be offering staff comedy classes or acting class or whatever it is, which keeps working life interesting but also allows people to open their minds and open their horizons a bit. So when it comes to creating that content, they're not thinking like everyone else is, because everyone studied the exact same things at school. Most people, from where I'm from anyway, have had a very similar upbringing, thus they all think in a very similar fashion.
Yes.
And so if we can in any way, whenever someone's managing content, managing an account for us, try and help them to broaden their horizons so they think differently, then that's something we're looking to do. And we would probably use investors' finance for that.
And so, you know, getting in the doors of the big boys, as you say, what are you, I presume you're speaking at a lot of events to raise your profile. What else are you doing to engage with that older audience then?
I think a big thing for me has become more about social media. I guess having just finished school in an all-boys sort of world where if you're going on social media saying, I'm this, I'm that, you get sort of pushed down quite quickly.
Sure.
So now that I'm liberated, if you want to call it that, I can talk more on social media and say more about what we're doing, and it's crazy how many people see your posts. I mean, I don't have many connections on LinkedIn, but I was having quite a few high-profile celebrities the other day sort of sliding into my DMs, and it's crazy sort of how quickly stuff can spread.
Yep.
And, you know, I've done some initiatives. So, for example, I went to a big event with Ernst & Young, and they keep inviting me back to a load of these events they do, EY Entrepreneur of the Year, which if anyone in here has the opportunity to be a part of, I thoroughly recommend it, because everyone in there is either global leader of insert big name or they founded it. And it's just crazy the network they've got. So that's what I'm trying to do to help get in the door.
Yes, well, I have no doubt you're going to succeed, no problem. The key market for spend for Gen Z, is it only items? So what is the key market for spend for Gen Z? Let's take that one. Is it only items?
I'd say probably Nando's is up there.
Say again?
Nando's, I mean, that's literally what I'm at Nando's all the time, Wagamama's. So I don't know if it's just items, but I think experience-based stuff as well, whether it be the cinema or playing sports and things. I mean, in my local area, whenever a sort of go-kart track opens up or crazy golf or something, admittedly, if I'm honest, the attention span doesn't last a long time, but kids are willing to spend it on experience-based stuff, I find as well.
Yes.
I'm sure Jen and Rose would be able to.
Yeah, what about you, Jake?
It's experiences, and I mean, I say this, and people are generally quite shocked, but I mean, it used to just be like, oh, I want this Buzz Lightyear toy, but now it's, oh, can I go spend a night at the museum? Or can I go have this DJ lesson? Or can I go to this spray painting course, this graffiti course, or something like that? And it's surprising how it's changed so quickly, in my opinion.
And that presumably is because what people see on Instagram
exactly,
and
because
Snapchat
people
and
are
all
seeing
this.
one influencer or champion doing it,
Sure.
and they're thinking, I didn't know you could do that. I want to do that, and then they're doing it.
Yeah, and let's talk about influencers for you, because it's hugely important.
Definitely, yeah, and especially with the thing about is it just items? Me and my friends now, we don't really buy each other birthday presents. We say, what should we go do as an experience together with all your friends? That's what I think everyone wants to do. But yeah, influence for me is huge, and I've just managed to make a few contacts and just get them. To get the products to them in their hands, they try them out, they think they're great, and then they just put it on Instagram, and that's free. So it's amazing. That's just free. So much PR, like publicity for free. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's wonderful. But I'm laughing at that last question. So I'm going to have to pick it up again. So could you please explain in plain English what sliding into my DM actually means?
Sliding into my DMs.
I'm sorry, Harry. Was it you that said it? I'm so sorry.
No,
When someone direct messages you, the term that we all use is sliding into the DM.
sliding into my DMs.
Yeah, it's a bit of a meme, really. But, yeah, there you go.
Wonderful. Well, listen, we're out of time, but it really has been brilliant. And you're going to be around later if anyone wants to collar you for your
That's okay.
for your knowledge. And it's been wonderful. Big round of applause, please, for the guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.